The first time my alien landlady screamed, I thought the station was venting atmosphere again. Human, why do you have a mini shy-hewlet between your legs? Her voice echoed down the corridor like a plasma rupture, rattling the cheap alloy walls of my rented unit. Doors hissed shut. Sensors flickered. Somewhere a neighbor shrieked and fled. And I was standing there frozen holding a bag of synth groceries, wondering how my life had gone this catastrophically wrong. But that was only the beginning. I had come to Kepler Station to disappear. That was the plan anyway. Kepler was a mid-tier trade hub drifting between three political borders, the kind of place where nobody asked too many questions as long as your rent cleared and you didn't bleed on the deck plating. Humans were still considered a curiosity out here, emotional, unpredictable, mostly harmless. Perfect camouflage. I rented a single-room habitat from Verarthel, a towering sand-skinned alien whose species, the Karyun, evolved on a desert world so brutal it ate cities whole. She owned half the block and ruled it like a patient, watchful god. She also had a habit of screaming first and asking questions later. What are you talking about? I snapped back, heart pounding. I don't have. Her 4 eyes were locked on me, unblinking, horrified. IT moved. Every muscle in my body went rigid. The corridor fell silent. I slowly looked down. Nothing. Just my legs. My boots. The seam of my station-issued pants. I laughed, a nervous, brittle sound. Lady, I think you're mistaking. Her clawed hand shot forward, stopping inches from me. A scanner bloomed to life, projecting a swirling hologram of my internal biology. And there it was. Something coiled. Compact. Dense. Alive. The image labeled it in stark alien script. Latent bioengineered organism. Dormant. Verarthel recoiled as if burned. Shy-hewlet, she whispered. My stomach dropped. None of us were prepared for the truth. Shy-hewlet was a myth across half the galaxy. A title, not a species. The devourer worms. Planet eaters. Living engines of extinction. Ancient. Irreversible. The kind of thing civilizations warned their children about. And according to my landlady's scanner, I had a miniature version inside me. What I saw next changed everything. Security drones flooded the corridor within minutes. Neighbors peered from doorways, whispering. Someone screamed, contagion. Someone else fainted. Verarthel stood rigid, torn between terror and something like awe. Human, she said slowly. How long have you been carrying this? I don't know, I whispered. And that was the worst part. I wasn't lying. The Interstellar Health Authority seized me before I could pack a bag. They didn't chain me. They didn't sedate me. They studied me. Days blurred into sterile rooms and gentle voices. My name, Ethan Cole, became a file number. My past became irrelevant. All that mattered was the organism. Turns out it wasn't a worm. It was a seed. A compressed, bioengineered construct folded into 11 dimensions, key to human endocrine signals and emotional stress. It had been dormant for years, maybe decades, feeding on trace energy, waiting. Waiting for what? That, said Dr. Kesari, an avian-like xenobiologist with sorrowful eyes, is the question that keeps our species awake at night. The revelation shattered galactic doctrine. Humans weren't carriers by accident. We were designed. But that was only the beginning. As the days passed, the station's mood changed. News spread. Protests erupted. Some species demanded my execution. Others wanted to dissect me. A few, mostly militaries, wanted to replicate me. I heard whispers through the walls. Insurance policy. Failsafe. I felt like a bomb with a heartbeat. And then the organism stirred. It didn't hurt. Communicated. Not with words. With emotion. Grief. Rage. Loneliness so vast it crushed me. Images of burning worlds. Silent stars. A galaxy that had tried to outgrow its own sins and failed. I collapsed screaming as visions poured through me. What I felt next changed everything. The Shy-hewlet seed wasn't evil. It was morning. The mid-story rehook hit when the council arrived. Ancient beings. Collectively known as the archivists. They hadn't appeared in public for 5,000 years. They surrounded my containment chamber, shimmering with light and age. You are not infected, they said, speaking directly into my mind. You are entrusted. Entrusted. They showed me the truth. Long ago, the galaxy burned itself nearly to death. Superweapons, reality tears, artificial gods. When the dust settled, the surviving civilizations made a pact. Never again. But they didn't trust themselves to keep it. So they built a guardian. Not a weapon. Conscience. They encoded it into humanity. An emerging species defined by empathy, contradiction, and emotional resilience. A species that bonded deeply, suffered openly, and refused to forget pain. The seed would awaken only if the galaxy crossed certain lines again. And it had. Illegal star eaters. Enslaved worlds. Quiet genocides hidden behind treaties. The Shihulid wasn't here to destroy. It was here to judge. And I was the first key. But why me? I asked, tears floating in the chamber's null graph. I'm nobody. The archivist's answer was devastating. Because you tried to disappear instead of becoming cruel. The seed resonated with that choice. The station erupted into chaos when factions tried to seize me. Shots fired. Hull breaches. Berthel herself tore through a barricade to reach my cell, roaring defiance. You are my tenant, she bellowed. And I do not abandon my own. In the end, I made the choice. I let the seed fully awaken. Not into a worm. Into a signal. A broadcast of undeniable truth, projected through every relay, every mind-linked species. Memories of suffering. Records erased by history. Faces of worlds that had screamed and been silenced. The galaxy was forced to feel again. Governments fell overnight. Fleets stood down. Entire species wept. The Shihulid seed dissolved, its purpose fulfilled. I survived. Barely. When I returned to my old corridor on Kepler Station, the walls were newly repaired. The air smelled cleaner. Quieter. Berthel stood outside my door, arms crossed. She eyed me carefully. The worm, she asked. Gone, I said. She snorted. Pity. Rent would have doubled. We stood there, sharing a strange, fragile silence. The galaxy would never be the same. Neither would I. But for the first time, I wasn't trying to disappear. Because sometimes the universe doesn't need a monster. It needs a human willing to carry the truth and let it go.